The title of this video is The Power of Our Basic Beliefs. Why are our beliefs important to us? Our beliefs create our reality. As we get to the end of this video, I will explain to you how that works. Each of us has an intensely personal, individually customized set of beliefs. Some of our beliefs are clear and we can communicate them to those around us. However, we all have beliefs that we're not very clear about. Perhaps we've never even thought seriously about them. You might be surprised to discover how many of your decisions, actions, and behaviors are influenced by beliefs that you hold that you've never actually communicated to yourself, much less to anyone else. If you believe this video is worthwhile, please subscribe to my channel and share your thoughts in the comments. Unlike universal principles, which you will remember are universally accepted as correct regardless of culture or geography. Unlike our core values, which are generally considered worthwhile and have some degree of intrinsic value, there's no guarantee that our beliefs are correct. In fact, frequently, our beliefs are completely and totally wrong. So, our beliefs are far more likely to change over time than our universal principles or core values. Undoubtedly, the belief structure that you hold today is somewhat different than the one you held a year ago, and probably a year from now, you will have a belief structure that's a little different than those you hold now. Once it was commonly believed that the Earth was the stationary center of the universe and that the sun rotated around it. It was once commonly believed that the world was flat, and some hold to that belief today despite massive evidence to the contrary. There was a time when people believed that bad blood was the root of all sickness and disease. So, the accepted treatment was to open veins to eliminate it. There was a time when many believed that the internet was a passing fad, or when we believed that a 56K modem was really fast. There was a time when I believed that 50 years old was old. And there was a time when I believed in Santa Claus. Our beliefs change with our experience and understanding over time. One reason that wisdom is an accepted universal principle and education is a common core. Value is that we all have a fundamental inherent understanding that we seek to acquire wisdom through education because we know that education gives us experience that helps us correct our faulty beliefs. The more we learn about or know about mathematics, science, history, art, business, psychology, relationships, or any other field of study, the more able and capable we are to understand the world around us and how things work correctly. Imagine how different life would be if your beliefs were true. You'd be the smartest person in the room and the smartest person in the world. I found that the smartest people I know all have one thing in common. They know that they don't know everything, and they understand that much of what they believe is actually based on bad information. This insight is precisely what allows them and drives them to keep learning, tweaking, and modifying their belief structure to some degree. That's what we all do all the time. In fact, the fact that you're listening to this video means that you're trying to refine your beliefs to be more successful in your relationships, work, and life than your current beliefs will allow you to be. So take a few minutes and try to identify some of your basic beliefs. Here is how you can do it. Grab a piece of paper and something to write with for this exercise, or open a notes app on your computer or device. For each of the following concepts or ideas, take a minute and write a clear, concise belief statement that communicates what you deeply believe about that concept or idea. Be completely honest with yourself and try to write down your complete thoughts. Here is the list of concepts or ideas: money, power, time, work, family, compassion, reward, responsibility, leadership, success, happiness. Don't rush through this exercise too quickly. Give it some focus, energy, and thought. Take time to process what you believe about each of these ideas. Then, try to develop concise statements that use clear and specific words to communicate what you believe. I would like to hear from you about that experience. Please take a moment to share one of your belief statements in the comments below. I'm curious, how many of those belief statements came very easily to you? Which ones were more difficult, and why? After completing this exercise, you may better understand some of your beliefs. Your belief statements will undoubtedly be very different from mine. Remember that we've already established that many of our beliefs may be right or wrong. However, Our beliefs have a powerful influence on shaping our reality. The belief statements you wrote have much to do with how you create your world. So set that sheet or note aside for a few minutes and let's explore exactly how that works. We live in a tangible, physical world, so we perceive that our reality is tangible and solid. But as I have read a few books on science, particularly those on physics, string theory, and quantum physics, I have discovered some things that have changed some of my fundamental beliefs. The more we learn about the tangible world around us, the more we realize that it is an illusion. How so? In the late 1890s, scientists discovered radioactivity and began looking into the world within an atom's nucleus. When atoms were first discovered, they were thought to be the fundamental building blocks of the physical universe. In fact, the very word atom means an indivisible unit. But then, with the discovery of radioactivity, scientists suddenly realized that the atom could be divided after all, and the foundation of all scientific belief was instantly shattered. Albert Einstein cemented the radical transformation of beliefs with his theory of relativity, which we all know is represented by the equation mc squared, right? Well, that changed everything. Einstein's equation describes how energy and matter are interrelated. You know, energy equals mass times the speed of light squared, and how matter and energy can be transformed back and forth into each other. This concept radically overwrites everything we know of Newtonian physics and the tangible world around us with a new, bizarre, unimaginable world of quantum physics. Quantum physics studies how the world works on the very smallest scale. And the closer that scientists looked, the deeper they went into reality, the more that reality actually dissolves. While searching for the smallest known particle of matter, they discovered that matter is made up of tiny and elusive packets of energy called quanta. So Einstein's famous breakthrough equation essentially comes down to this. Everything that we can touch, taste, see, or smell is made up of energy. It's all made up of molecules composed of atoms, which are made up of protons and electrons, which are, in turn, made up of nothing but vibrating packets of energy. Other experiments that I found interesting showed that these packets of energy all have some very strange and peculiar behaviors, including the ability to influence one another with a property that scientists call entanglement. This was first described in a book by physicist Ervin Laszlo when he described a series of experiments using highly sensitive electrical monitors. The way the experiment worked was that they used a subject who had been at Pearl Harbor during the Japanese attack on December 7, 1941. Scientists cultured some white blood cells from his mouth in a test tube. Then, they divided the cultures, moved them to distant locations over 7 miles away, and attached electrodes for the scientific equipment to monitor them. Then, they showed the subject film footage from the Pearl Harbor attack. Something astounding happened at the very instant that the experiment subject showed an emotional reaction to the film. The needle on the electrical monitor 7 miles away jumped. They repeated this many times and found that they could duplicate this phenomenon over dramatically increased distances, even hundreds of miles away, with the same results. So, what's going on here? How can these cultured cells remain connected to the subject's body and connected to his emotions no matter how far apart they are? What forces are at work? Well, the quest for the answer to this question is now considered the holy grail of science. They're looking for a unified theory that explains this phenomenon. Then, we've got to consider the work of the Danish physicists Niels Bohr and Werner Heisenberg. Their work resulted in a concept called Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. Maybe you've heard of that. Bohr and Heisenberg were looking at the subatomic structure of particles. They found that these particles appeared to exist at the very smallest level as a solid, stable thing, but as the potential of any one of its possible selves. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle states that it's impossible to measure all of the properties of a subatomic particle simultaneously. He found that if you measure or record information about the speed at which a particle travels, you can't identify its location. And if you can find the location of a proton, you can't determine its speed or its trajectory. The work of Bohr and Heisenberg suggests to us that, at its most basic level, the tangible world isn't exactly anything. At the subatomic level, the solid physical world is not made of anything solid at all. Instead, it's made up of a field of potential and possibility. A particle doesn't actually take on the specific character of anything until it's measured or observed. Wherever scientists looked for an electron would appear, and it would appear right where they were expecting to find it. Even more strangely, they soon discovered that the mere intention of measuring subatomic particles, even without actually carrying out the act itself, would still impact the particles in question. This was a staggering discovery for science. The action of consciousness on a piece of matter has become an essential component in the very nature of reality. As scientists continue exploring the subatomic world, they find that some force underlies everything. Even at absolute zero, when all forms of energy disappear, the point is referred to as the zero-point field. Here, the instantaneous connections of entanglement displayed in the experiment on the distant white blood cell cultures of the field heart of the Pearl Harbor survivor begin to make some sense. Here, below the level of energy, exists a field that physicists can best describe as a field of information. Let me describe it another way. Energy and matter appear to arise from a sea of pure consciousness. Consciousness is what the universe is made of. Matter and energy are two forms that consciousness takes. This means that everything we experience in the physical world is at the most basic, fundamental level of thought. The physical world is made of atoms, which are made of energy, which comes from consciousness. So what's the connection between these scientific concepts, these discoveries, and your beliefs? We've all heard the expression, "I'll believe it when I see it." However, according to what we know in science, that isn't how it works at all. The truth is actually more like this. You'll see it when you believe it. Your beliefs don't just reflect your reality. They create your reality. So, your beliefs can channel the most powerful force in the universe. Like a superhero, you've got the ability to use that power for good or evil. And this has some massive implications for your relationships and your life. Now go back and take another look at your belief statements. Do you see them a little bit differently than you did before? Are there any beliefs you need to change? What do you believe about your own abilities and your own limitations? Do you really believe in yourself? Can you really pull this off? So here's your assignment. In the earlier videos on this channel, you should have already gone through the exercise of selecting your most dominant universal principles and your top core values. What I'd like you to do is take some time and write down a clear and concise belief statement for each of those universal principles and core values. Maybe you could also take a fresh look at the belief statements you wrote down in this video as well. Maybe it's worth taking an hour to completely focus your thoughts, your attention, and your energies on the wording of your beliefs. Tweak them a little bit or maybe rewrite them completely. But contemplate the implications of your beliefs in light of what you learned in this video, and then write down what you learned. Maybe this seems like a lot of time to spend on this activity, but remember, you're accessing the most powerful force in the universe. These exercises give you a foundation for creating the life of your dreams. Whether you realize it or not, you are on a quest to focus your desires, goals, behaviors, and beliefs on achieving the pinnacle of fulfillment in every element of your life, in your business, in your personal life, and with your family. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found this information valuable and worth your investment of time. If so, please make sure you subscribe to this channel. It's very important to me that the information I'm providing to you is helpful. If you have any comments or suggestions on this material, please add them to the comments. Here's to your great life.